Meghan's disastrous trip to Geneva. And, you know, she was facing allegations of plagiarism from her speech, which sounded awfully like an op-ed Dr. Dana Suskind wrote in many places. It showed up in the Chicago Times. And you've also got her showing up to a sparsely attended pre-event for the screens of the children who were lost to social media. And then, of course, we have this story that you broke, and I love it so much. She didn't show, after she did her screen speech, which possibly 24 people showed up for, and they were kind of looky-loos. They were like, oh, there's something being screened. I'm going to go check it out, right? They weren't like, we're here to see Meghan, we love you, right? But she immediately leaves for the main event and then goes to dinner. And I've got some questions for you about this, because at dinner, she takes this selfie. Now, this is driving me nuts. It's with a Finnish politician who's currently facing active allegations of sexual harassment and, wait for it, racism. Tell me exactly who this guy is and what he did, Tom.
Yeah, so he's basically a far-right Finnish politician called Willem Rydman, and it's, you know, he's the health minister for Finland, right? Because they've somehow, who knows, Finnish politics, they've got a coalition, and the price is they have to give them the health ministry. So because the World Health Organization, Finland is a funder to the World Health Organization, and so they have to chat up their health ministers. So their health ministers get invited to the dinner, and they're told, hey, it's going to be great, Meghan's going to be there. So for once, everybody, rather than thinking, oh my God, I've got to go to Geneva to the incredibly dull World Health Organization Health Week, they're like, oh great, you know, in my Z-list Finnish politician world, this is quite fun, right? I'm going to get to see Meghan or whatever and get free dinner. So off they go, he takes the selfie, puts it online, and then before you know it, it's all coming out, all this stuff, all this abusive. I mean, I'm not going to repeat all the terms that he's used to people, but you can well imagine if you want to look them up, you can look them up. But, you know, disgusting, abusive, racist, sexist, misogynistic abuse of women, alleged sexual assault. I mean, it's really bad, serious stuff. And what it does to me, Paula, is it's a couple of different things. I mean, it's like, it all sounds great, doesn't it, to hitch yourself to the World Health Organization, but actually the World Health Organization is kind of shambolic, great, gigantic, bureaucratic beast lumbering through the world. And, you know, and what's also really interesting on a side note, why is the World Health Organization getting involved in social media? Well, when I was in Geneva talking to NGO people, what they were saying to me is that because of all the cuts in the aid and the NGO world, all of these organizations are now trying to grab territory from other organizations. So it's not, they were not entirely remotely surprised that the World Health Organization, you know, which should, frankly, in my opinion, be dealing with the Ebola outbreak in Southern Africa.
Or the hantavirus.
Yeah, exactly. Is now getting involved with telling kids to get off their phones. And there was this kind of, you know, the speech, Meghan's speech was kind of, in bits it was fine, but then in other bits it was kind of chaotic, talking about seatbelts and saying that, you know, we didn't ask parents to design seatbelts. But of course, the World Health Organization didn't design seatbelts either. I mean, no. In fact, it completely made the point of what critics were saying of like, look, this is not the World Health Organization's area of interest. Stick to contagious disease, guys. Do you know what I mean? Like,
stick to what you know and can actually help with, because there's a lot of other people who got the social media thing covered, including the group that I work with, Fair Play for Kids, which Meghan likes to take credit for their work, and she's never contributed a dime or worked with them. Sorry, go on. Ugh.
Well, no, so I suppose the thing with this far-right Finnish politician, you know, what it really illustrates is that organising a overseas tour for a prominent individual is difficult, and it requires a lot of vetting, right? So there's an amazing film that was made many years ago by Jonathan Dimbleby about Prince Charles as he was then, and he's planning his trips overseas. And it's very funny because Charles kind of sits there and goes, oh God, it's so awful seeing my life set in God. And it's very self-pitying and all of that. But in the context of this, it's really interesting because you see that there's at least 2, possibly 3 full-time staff involved in the planning. But then when he arrives in Australia, there's this unbelievable network of thousands of unpaid volunteers. So, and because of the goodwill, you know, a lot of these people, like if you had a bit of power, right, and you had a bit of goodwill and a bit of organization, you'd be able to get a list of who was going to that dinner, and you'd be able to say, I don't give a shite if he's the Finnish Health Minister. I'm not getting in the same room as this guy, you know, because someone would have time to go through it. Someone would have the bandwidth to check those names. And B, you might also have enough local people on the ground who would say to you, listen, I've heard that this guy's coming. I think either we need to make sure that he doesn't come, or else I think you're going to have to threaten to pull out because you can't be seen it. But like, that's a lot of organization. It's a lot of contacts. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of goodwill. A lot of things have to go right for that to happen. For like, for this guy just to get up next to you and say, can I take a photo? And you to go, yeah, sure. Which was basically their defense, right? Their defense when I asked them about it, they were like, somebody asked for a photo. It's not possible to check everyone. Well, I think it frankly should be checked if you're at a dinner of the World Health Organization. I think you do want to check everyone. Sorry, just my opinion.
100%. It reminds me of that dinner where they just showed up and Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz just happened to be there, and they had no idea, even though it was a sit-down dinner for 10. You know, you're just like, come on, this is redonkulous. I think she didn't actually do any research. I think she probably knew and was like, yes, I want a picture with the Finnish Health Minister. That gives me gravitas. Instead of actually just doing a quick Google search and being like, Finnish Health Minister, oh, hell no. You know, I think, come on. It's just bonkers. Now, meanwhile, while her and Harry's also in a bit of a stink, you know, his Invictus Games is a mess. A lot of people are talking about Archwell because Meghan went over under Archwell Philanthropy's umbrella, which I'm not even sure is registered properly yet. And a lot of people are calling for Archwell Foundation to their actual taxes to be looked into, because I had a look at them and they're freaking dodgy as heck, right? And now I'm looking at Travelist, their other philanthropy, which basically tells big companies like Budget and, you know, Booking and Expedia how to do things environmentally. It's a boondoggle, right? We all know what a boondoggle is. It's not, it's like, hey guys, if you click here, do you want to give some money to offset your carbon footprint? When, let's be honest, cash isn't going to offset any carbon footprint. You know what will? Not traveling on a private jet everywhere. However, you know, there we are. And also, I've been looking at the Travelist tax returns, and they're really bizarre. There's a lot of questions. I'll get into that when I get back from my move. My move is next week. And yes, I want to sob about it.